Well, good evening on this magnificent Monday evening, the day after Mother's Day, the day after a wonderful Sunday celebration. At least it was a wonderful celebration for me. It was a wonderful Mother's Day, I understand, for many. Well, it was actually a wonderful Mother's Day for me. I actually enjoyed um, yesterday. I enjoyed honoring the mothers who are so deserving to be honored on their special day. Well, I hope you're going to be joining me tonight. Those of you that are popping in now, if you're part of the Mocha crew, you know what to do. Throw a greeting in that comment box, if you will. Let me know you're with me. If you're joining me for the very first time, I am Dr. Tony D. Cobbins. I'm your host for these Mocha Moments. I'm a life coach. I am a consultant. I am a trainer. Um, yes, I am a pastor, preacher, and teacher as well. But tonight I'm kind of here in the capacity of life coach, trainer, and consultant. Good evening, Brittany. Don't forget to throw up that hashtag Mocha Crew. Come on, every time you log in, throw up that hashtag Mocha Crew. Those of you that have not yet committed to joining the Mocha Crew, I invite you to hook up with the Mocha Crew. We're a special community. We are a very special community, and we are growing. We are growing every day. Mocha Crew is all about adding value to other people because that's what we do on the Mocha Crew. So again, Brittany, God bless you, Tara, Kazam, Ann, Toya, Tisha, Denise, Cassandra, uh, Jackie, all of you that have already popped in, good evening, good evening, good evening. And thanks for throwing up that hashtag Mocha Crew. That's what we do. We're going to be reminding ourselves every night that we are a part of a very, very special community. And we invite you to join and hook up with us. Those that are a part of the Mocha Crew, they have committed themselves to jumping on and sharing with me every time I come on. Right now, I'm in the midst of a 30-day challenge wherein I've been challenged to come on every day to share something with you. And I'm loving what I'm doing right now because, once again, I feel like I'm adding value to other people. And y'all know what happens when you commit yourself to adding value to other people. You, in turn, add value to yourself. Vera, good evening to you. Good evening to you. T.R. Renee is in the house. Good evening to you, T.R. Renee. Again, don't forget to throw up that hashtag Mocha Crew. Yeah, throw that hashtag up. Let me know that you are committed to being with me. You're part of our new community. And then the other thing I've asked those a part of our community to do, those are part of the Mocha Crew, I've asked you to make sure that you share this link with someone else. Take the time to do it right now while we're giving more people time to get logged on with us. On another note, if you have not turned on your notifications wherein you're being notified each and every time that I come on, I want to um, ask you to do so. If you don't mind, please turn on your notification. Now, somebody told me the other day, they say, I just got so many notifications that are coming at me. Well, that's where you got to prioritize some things. If I'm that important, if what I'm sharing is really a blessing to you, then you won't mind turning on that notification to notify you when I come on, because y'all know I don't jump on here just randomly and all through the day. But I'm very intentional about what I do. Thank you, Tisha. Thank you, Tisha, one of my support staff that threw up a notification reminding you that my book is available. I'm not just a pastor, I'm a person. And thank all of you who purchased a book on yesterday. And Tom, um, welcome. God bless you. Thank you for throwing up that hashtag. Again, let me say thank you to all of you that purchased a book on yesterday. And I don't know if you've had time to break it open and get started reading what I have had to share with you. But when you do, I'm going to be anxious to hear your response to the book. You know, Yeah, I want to know if some things are said in there that resonates with you, that gave you a revelation that you didn't have before. In other words, now you know some things that you were totally unaware of. I want to know what your emotional response um, to the book is. What the emotional response is. How did it make you feel? What did it stir in you? Again, those of you that are joining us, as you're joining us, again, I ask that you would throw up a greeting in the comment, excuse me, in the comment book box, rather. Let me know that you're here with us on tonight. Now, we got to uh, do a little bit better job of getting the word out with regards to Mocha Moments being on again. Hold on, I got to pause for the calls. Lady Ann just popped in, and y'all know I'm always excited when she pops in on Mocha Moments. Yeah, she's here in the house with me, but it still does my heart good when she pops in to see what her man is sharing. So yeah. Um, yeah, I'm getting ramped up to do this back on a regular basis, like you all enjoyed Morning Mocha. I've relabeled it to Mocha Moments because it's going to be a little easier for me to do it in the evening. And I know that from the time that we did Morning Mocha up until now, things have changed, things have shifted. Because if you can recall, when I first started doing Morning Mocha, it was during the height of the pandemic, and many people were still working from home and not having to make that commute back and forth between home and the job. I love you too, sweetie. Not having to make that commute back and forth between home and the job. But player hater, I guess that's what those letters stand for. Thanks for joining us tonight. But since then, people are back in the workplace. They're having to make that commute back and forth, and they're not available early in the morning like they used to be. At least that's what I understand. And then it's just easier for me because I've developed a new routine in my mornings, for my mornings, and the end of the day is a lot more convenient for myself. I tried to come on a little earlier tonight since I didn't have anything opposite of this that would hinder me or keep me from doing what I'm doing tonight as early as I'm doing it. Well, I don't want to be on here too long. I don't want to hold you too long. But again, I'm going to ask you, no, I'm going to require you. You're part of the Mocha crew. You're a part of the community. And so as a member of the Mocha crew, you must be engaged throughout this conversation. This discussion. How do I know you're engaged is when you type comments in the comment box. Don't leave me out here by myself, but I want to talk with you all. I want to interact with you all. I want you to know not just what I'm thinking, but I want to know what you're thinking. I don't want to just convey all of my thoughts, but I want to see what thoughts are being provoked as we go through our discussion. And lastly, once again, you got to be a sharer. You got to be open to sharing this link with somebody else and encourage them to come on and join us for Mocha Moments. Tonight, I want to talk about leaders versus puppets with a position and a title. Yeah. Because actually, the reality is there are people who have positions and titles that claim to be leaders, but the reality is they're just not leaders. First thing I want to throw at you, I want to ask the question, how do we typically define leadership? When you think of that word leadership or leader, what thoughts are evoked in your mind? When asked about what a leader is, most people instantly think in terms of a position or a title. And let me have you to understand this. And I want to make this perfectly clear. And if you don't walk away with anything else tonight, walk away with this. Understand that positions and titles are really only for organizational identification purposes. That's the only thing that they're really good for. People know where you stand in an organization and possibly what some of your responsibilities may or may not be based on the position or the title you hold. But just because you hold a title or hold a position, that title or position does not really qualify you or confirm that you are a leader. Good evening to the Mortons who just joined us. Thank you for joining us tonight. So y'all feel what I'm saying? There are a lot of people that have titles, they have positions, but when you really analyze them for who they are, how they operate, how they move about, how they function in the workplace or in any organizations, they're just people with titles. Titles and positions do not necessarily speak to or identify an individual's abilities. Just because a person holds a title or a position, it doesn't really say that they have the skills or the abilities deserving of that title or position. Now, I'm not trying to get anybody to be a hater on anyone else, okay? But it's just the reality. Some things we have to call it as it really is, identify it for what it really is. Dominique, you're already running a little bit ahead of me, but that's okay. That's okay. I'm going to share your comment right now. Dominique says a position of guidance or influence. That is absolutely on point. It is absolutely on point. Some people rather have positions of leadership or they carry the title of an implied leader, but in all actuality, they do not possess the capacity to lead. I'm gonna give you an example with regards to my own vocation rather. For instance, every good preacher is not necessarily pastor material. Just because a person can preach doesn't mean that they would be as good of a pastor as they are a preacher. That's just facts and reality. Why is that? It's because there is so much more to pastoring than preaching. But yet there are so many preachers at the helm of leadership or in the position of senior leader of churches who are really not qualified to be pastors. They are excellent, excellent, excellent preachers. I mean, they can break down a passage of scripture. They can really expound upon the word of God in a way that people can clearly understand the passage. They are very great in their presentation, but the truth yet remains that just because they're excellent preachers does not mean that they will make excellent pastors. And that's the mistake that we've made for a long time. We got to understand that there's so much more to leading than just having a title or a position. And sometimes we put people in positions and places simply because they can do a particular thing quite well. Well, it's wonderful, and we celebrate their gifts and talents with regards to their abilities to do certain things quite well. But you gotta be able to identify whether that person has leadership, real, true, authentic leadership qualities. I mean, think about that. Let that sink in. Some of you can relate what I'm saying to people on your job. I know some of you probably have worked for supervisors or managers who did not have the skills, the tools, or the capacity to lead, to supervise, or to manage, but because somebody liked them. Wow. Stephen Walker, thanks for joining us. Office and talents are two different things. That's true. That's so true. People can hold an office, but not have the talent to pull certain things off. You know, they just don't have what it takes. I mentioned just a second ago about supervisors and managers, because that brings me to another point. Another misnomer is that managers and leaders are synonymous with one another. And actually, there's a big difference between a manager and a leader. Are you hearing me? I hope you all grab onto this and store it in your memory bank, so you'll know how to identify the difference between a manager and a leader. Managers, watch this now. Managers manage systems and procedures. And contrary to popular belief, you can't really manage people. Stephen Walker, you threw up another comment here. Some of the most effective churches have got pastors who have never been accused of preaching, but they're good with dealing with people. That's an interesting way of phrasing it. No, you're right. They've never been accused of being able to preach, but they are excellent leaders because they have the ability to influence other people. Now, again, let me go back to the statement I just made a second ago. You can't really manage people. Contrary to popular belief, you cannot manage people. Well, why not? I'm glad you asked. You cannot manage people because you have no power to control people unless they are or they become performing puppets. Now think about that. You can't make anybody do anything. You have no power to control people. I don't care what your title may be. Yeah, you may have the power to intimidate people, but you can't control them, because at the end of the day, people are going to do exactly what it is they want to do, regardless as to how much you intimidate them. Let me see what Toya is saying here. People who are able to set the tone, multitask, and delegate, being able to identify strengths and weaknesses in others, and then able and willing to cultivate and to grow the people they lead. That's what leaders do. You all are already catching on. Liddell, you got an interesting word here, persuade. Persuade. Now, that's a tricky word because you got to be able to differentiate between persuasion and manipulation. Uh-oh, y'all got me going here tonight. And you got to know the difference between persuasion and manipulation. I can view, and I think we should be able to view persuasion in a positive light, because persuasion to me is just giving a person a little extra nudge that they need in order to be able to see some things differently and to even accept things that they typically rejected. A position or a perspective on that situation has finally been presented to them, wherein they can accept viewing or accept that thing from a different perspective. And now they have been persuaded to go along with whatever they're being asked to do. I appreciate what you said here too. Liddell said that's the HR mindset, that persuasion thing. You're absolutely right, and I know that you're an authority in that area. So I received that. Toya says a fine line between persuasion and manipulation. It absolutely is. There absolutely is a fine line between persuasion and manipulation. And leaders, true, authentic leaders don't operate in manipulation. I mean, real leaders, people who really are not leaders, they have to resort to manipulation because otherwise they certainly won't be able to get people to do what they want them to do or need them to do. They have to operate in manipulation and even now intimidation in order to get people to cooperate with them or do what they need and want them to do. T.R. Renee says manipulation comes with a personal motive. Very well said. I love it. I love it. And the personal motive is very selfish. I mean, very selfish. That personal motive has absolutely no regards for other people. They're only thinking of themselves. They're only thinking of their own well-being, how to get themselves ahead, how to get up, one up on everybody else. That's manipulation. I think what most people don't understand is people don't want you. They want the gift you have to meet the need they have not you. Okay. Let me read that again. I may have chopped that up again, Stephen. So you excuse me if I chop that up a bit. I think what most people don't understand is people don't want you. They want the gift you have to meet the need they have. Oh, not you. Okay. Probably a little comment there would have helped me out a little bit, but I got it. You're right. They don't want you necessarily. They do want to be able to benefit from your gift. And really, if we want to be totally real about this, that's really a two-way street. Sometimes leaders don't really want the individuals that they are leading. They only want what they can get out of those individuals, what they can get out of the individuals that will benefit themselves and not necessarily benefit the individual that they're leading. Dr. Pat says good leaders are visible throughout the organization and are willing to train, support, and work and serve as a team member. Wow, man, that's some good stuff right there. That's really some good stuff right there. And notice in that description, thank you so much, Dr. Pat. In that description, there's nothing mentioned about a title. The thing that is mentioned is more about a person's willingness to give of themselves, to pour themselves into others, and to serve the purposes of the entire team. Again, that brings me to another point. Boy, y'all stirring some things up in me. Great leaders are team players first. They have the team's best interests at heart before they have their own best interests at heart. That's what great leaders do. That's how they operate. That's who they are. That's what they do. Vera says a leader has to set an example for others to follow. That's absolutely right. Y'all throwing up some good stuff here and there. Jackie talks about a servant. Leaders should be servant. There's a phrase that has been coined in the industry now that refers to people as being servant leaders. I love that label because it implies that there is a connection. There is a constant, consistent connection and relatableness between the leaders and others that are on the team. The worst thing that a leader can do is to create distance and become disconnected from the rest of the team, because it gives off the impression that everything is all about them and not about the team. I was sharing with a team staff not long ago about how teams work together and the dynamics of a team. And I gave the illustration in terms of, I used the Kansas City Chiefs, for instance, and I talked about the fact that Andy Reid is the head coach. And so his major responsibility is to help prepare the team for a game, but then to lead the team in competing against their opposition. And the only way that he can do that effectively is that there must be a connectedness between himself and the members of the team. T.R. Renee says servant leaders aren't afraid to pull up their sleeves and put in the work. I'll say that. A big amen to that. Let me leave that up there for a second, because some people need to really marinate in that. Some people think that once they get a particular title or they get a certain position, then they're above doing the work. Hey, that brings me to another point. Leaders are not necessarily bosses. Bosses really don't have the impact on their staff that they once had. People don't care to work for people that they view as being a boss. They would much rather work for a leader than for a boss. And what differentiates the leader from the boss, or the boss from the leader, is all the boss does is give orders. But a leader will get in and help or even lead in doing the work. Wow. So again, as I stated a few moments ago, that there's a difference between managers and leaders, because you really can't control people. That's why you can't manage people. You can't control them. And really, you shouldn't want to try to control people. If you're leading an organization, or you have a lead position within your place of employment, your desire should be to want to influence people and bring them along rather than ordering people around. Jackie Watkins says, get in the trenches. Kathy Jones said, you lead by example. Amen to that. People would rather have you show them what to do or work alongside of them while they do than for you to point and direct and just order them to do. Tracy says, most of the time I found out that the team knows more than the boss. Yeah, you better believe it. Yeah. Because most bosses were hired because of the paper they possess, not because of the skills or the knowledge they possess. I can't tell you the number of times when I was working for Southwestern Bell that I wound up training men who ultimately became my supervisor. I'm like, how in the world does that work? And there were many times that they had to call me to solve problems that they couldn't solve themselves because they didn't have the knowledge. But they had the title, they had the position, and ultimately, and I've been trying to lead up to this, but let me throw this in there right now. People like that are really nothing but puppets for an organization or an entity or a company. They're just puppets being controlled by the corporate puppeteers. How about that? Managers and bosses see staff, not individuals, as part of the team. Yeah, you're just a number. You're absolutely just a number. Some people who think they are leaders, the reality is that they're really nothing more than performing puppets. Someone else is pulling their strings. They dance to whatever or whoever's music is playing the loudest at the time. They have no impact or influence on or over other people. And for the most part, they are easily disregarded and deemed insignificant or irrelevant. You know, it really gets tough for a person who has a title and position when those who are working under them, or as we say at times, for them, really know more about the job than they do. Because the mentality of the worker becomes, you really can't tell me anything because you don't know anything. And thereby it negates their power of influence. You know, they often say that knowledge is power. And to a lot of degree, that's very true. So again, there are people who hold titles and are in certain positions, but they are really, really, really not leaders. They have no capacity to lead. Someone has already alluded to it, but let me reiterate it again. The simple definition of a leader is one who has the ability to influence others to follow and fulfill a set vision or to adhere to certain principles. That's what leaders do. They don't force people, they influence people. They don't manipulate people, they influence people. Let me get ready to wrap this up. I want you to walk away from here understanding what a real leader is, so that when you're in any organization, whatever organization you're in or choose to be a part of, you can know when you have a true leader at the helm. Okay? Leaders are visionaries. Leaders are capable of casting or conveying vision. They have a vision and they are capable of conveying their vision to others. Leaders possess the ability to adjust and even change course on the fly. That's what leaders do. Because things are not going to always go exactly as planned. Sometimes you've got to be able to improvise on the fly, make changes, make adjustments. You know, leaders don't remain stuck in time. They know how to remain progressive, constantly leading the people forward. Leaders, I want you to catch this. Leaders lead through pressure and while under pressure. Just because you got a little pressure on you doesn't give you a pass, and neither does it give you permission to be excused or take time off from being a leader just because you're feeling the pressure. Real leaders work through the pressure and they work under pressure. Man, I can sit here all day and talk about working through pressure and under pressure. Man, I can tell you story after story after story after story where I was faced with, challenged with, and forced to have to work through pressure and under pressure. But here's what I discovered is that the pressure that I worked through and under only made me better. Yeah. Some people say pipes burst under pressure. Not all the time. Sometimes the pressure builds up to the degree that it's strong enough to force the blockage out. Wow. You know, I mean, sometimes you need a little pressure to open up the blockage, push some things out of the way. Some of y'all are not going to like this, but sometimes people are nothing more than blockage. They need to be moved out of the way. They need to be pushed out of the way. And you can tell who needs to be pushed through and pushed out of the way is when they can't operate or they can't stand under pressure. That's the reason why some people run from certain organizations. And dare I say, they even run from churches because they can't stand the pressure that's building up, forcing them to move. Either you get going with the flow or you're going to just get pushed out of the way. and most of the time, people that run from the pressure and conveniently disappear when the pressure gets intense, they think themselves to be leaders. But when too much pressure is placed on them, the real them shows up. That real person comes out. Listen, leaders, catch this now. Leaders are not controlling, but neither are they controlled by individuals or entities. Wow. Think about that. They're not controlling. I mean, true leaders don't have to be controlling. When you get into that arena of being controlling, that's when you start to engage manipulation as well. You start to employ manipulation. But when you're a person of influence and the influence is genuine, the influence is real, you don't have to try to control people. People will respect your leadership enough to just follow your lead because they'll desire the same thing that you desire when your leadership is authentic, when your leadership is sincere, when your leadership is effective. All you have to do is be the leader that you are. Toya says they fold and flee under pressure. Yes, that's what happens. People that can't stand the pressure. Leaders, man, I really hope y'all are getting this. Leaders are more inspiring rather than insulting. Ooh-wee. Is it getting hot up in here? Some people think they're really flexing their leadership muscles when they really know how to tell people off, when they know how to put people down, when they know how to insult people rather than inspire people. Now, don't get it twisted. Every now and then, a leader has to critique, and that's what leaders do. Leaders are prone to critique rather than to criticize. But here's a problem with a lot of people. Some people don't know the difference between a critique and a criticism. Some people just don't know the difference. I was just sharing with somebody just on yesterday, I believe it was. I gave them an example of a critique as opposed to a criticism. And the example I gave them was that years ago, early in our marriage, Lady Ann said to me, she said, sometimes you're talking too fast when you're preaching. You need to slow down. Slow down. Just, you're talking really fast at times, and sometimes people miss what you're saying because you're talking so fast. And rather than getting upset and popping off at the mouth and saying something like, well, who are you to tell me? Why don't you try getting up here and preaching to these folks every Sunday? No. From what she shared with me, which was an excellent critique, I went back and I began to review the videos of my preaching. And as I sat there and watched the videos, I said to myself, yes, I am talking too fast. And I started to deliberately slow down and pace myself and be very deliberate with what I was saying. And it's made a world of difference in my preaching delivery over the years. Now, some of y'all might think I talk too slow because I take too long. I ain't thinking about y'all. I'm not thinking about y'all. No, I'm having fun right now. But that's what leaders do. Leaders they know how to critique. They know how to critique. They know how to share with people in a way that that person will be receptive of the critique, take it as instruction, and use it as an opportunity to improve themselves. Yeah. What are you saying there, Tisha? Yep. Don't always be quick to pop off. Marinate in what is being said and take necessary action. Listen, y'all, I'm just going to be real honest with you all. And I think I mentioned something to this effect in my book that I just released. But church people can be some of the hardest people to critique. Man, we're so sensitive at times. We get in our feelings so easy, and it's sad because one of the fruits of the Spirit is temperance, long suffering, patient, kind, and all of that. And many of us think that if anybody tries to give us wisdom with regards to how to do something better or different, we think or we take it as it being an attack upon our person or upon our character or even upon our intelligence. And that's sad. Can I encourage you to give your leaders the room, the green light to be able to critique you when critique is very much needed? Yeah. It will serve in your best interests when you are open to critique, especially from your leaders. I have 8 ministers that I work with at Canaan Worship Center. And I try to help in whatever way I can. And I really appreciate it when they allow me to share certain observations And I always try to make sure that how I share it with them, that it's in a way where they can see what I'm sharing, that they can receive it and know that I'm not attacking them, but I'm only sharing because I want to see them always be able to perform at the highest level. And that was the only word that I could come up with at the time. Well, let me put it to you like this, because some of y'all so spiritual, y'all don't like that word perform. That they might preach at the highest level with the greatest biblical and theological accuracy that is afforded them. Okay, is that better? But that's what leaders do. And then finally, leaders are strong enough. I want y'all to really catch this. Leaders are strong enough to shoulder blame and to share credit and praise. Yeah. Those that work with me, those that are on my leadership team, those that work with me on staff, they can affirm or they can confirm what I'm about to say right here. I'll be the first always to shoulder blame for anything that doesn't go as smoothly as it should. Or let me put it more so like this. I don't believe in throwing individuals under the bus. Okay, now I know some of you all got something in your head and in your mind that you readily want to dispute. Well, now, Pastor, wait a minute. Sometimes on Sunday morning, when that sound ain't right, you won't move forward. You won't do. You let the AV people know that the sound is not right. I have to. Come on, y'all. That's a critique. That's trying to get things in order because we're serving the people and we want to be able to put out the best product. But now, y'all don't hear me up there chewing them out and things of that nature. No. I just let them know we got to fix it, and we got to fix it now because this is being done live. And some people that seem not to understand, they're like, oh, that's wrong. That's wrong for him to say something like, well, what do you want me to do? You want me to stand there and look like a bewildered idiot on live streaming that's being streamed all across the globe? At least there's an acknowledgement that something is not done right, and we're going to work to get it right so that we can give you the best product possible or available. Thank you, Tisha. All right, let me put this up here. Tisha said, when that kind of stuff happens, we be looking back like, what's going on? Okay, so it's not that anybody's wanting to or trying to embarrass the AV staff, because I appreciate the AV staff. I really appreciate the AV staff. They are volunteers and they're back there every Sunday, but I can't just let things go or just pass on by them as though nothing's happening, because that would suggest that I'm not very observant as a leader, or that I don't care anything about the quality of the broadcast that we send out on live stream. And that's not me. That is not me. Even in private meetings with my staff people, if something doesn't go right, the way I address it is I say, hey, we're gonna have to do something differently. I wish a few of my staff people was on here tonight. I don't see any of them in the comments, but I say to them, we've got to do something different. I never tell them, y'all got to do something different. No, because we're all in this together. I'm a team player. Yeah, I might be the leader of the team, but I am a team player. Thank you, Tisha. I appreciate these comments you're throwing up here. It would be very awkward if nothing is said. Yes, it would be. Lady Ann, she's confirming what I said with regards to how I address my team when we maybe don't do something as well as we had planned to do it, or we don't execute as well as we had planned to do. I never say y'all or they, or I say we. And when I talk about we, I'm encompassing and talking about Canaan Worship Center as a whole, because we're all in this together. Yep, that's right. Bishop uses we. I use it all the time. Private conversation, public conversation. It's all about we. Thank you, Toya. That's a good way of saying it. Toya says you're debriefing, not scolding. Well, I'm not a puppet. I don't allow people to pull my strings. I'm not influenced by people or by entities. I lead according to the vision that God gives me, and I try to be very inspiring with my leadership. And I want to encourage you to do the same. Be inspiring as a leader. And you may not have an official title of leadership or an official leadership position, but know that there's a leader in you. And you don't ever know when that leader in you is going to have to be called to the front to actually give leadership to other people. But I would suggest to you, and I want to encourage you, that you not wait until you get an official position or an official title, but that you start exercising great leadership practices even now. Do all you can to avoid being a puppet, because puppets are just placeholders in many organizations. But you be an effective, powerful, consistent leader, a leader of integrity, a leader with vision, a leader with purpose, a person who has the power, the ability, and the wisdom to influence others in a very positive manner. Thank all of you for your comments, man. You all threw up some good comments tonight. I'm going to end with a few of your comments. Shell said, God calls us to do things decent and in order. To that I say amen. Tisha said, Bishop operates in excellence. I do the very best I can. Excellence for me is the only standard. You know, I say we shoot for perfect. And I'm happy if we land on excellent. How about that? All right. I hope you all have been blessed tonight. And again, as those of you that have purchased my book, I hope you get a chance to at least start reading the introduction. And I just want to know your response to it. I hope the book has an effect on you, that when you start to read it, it'll be very difficult for you to put it down. That's my hope. That's my prayer. Well, again, thank you all for joining us here tonight. And I look forward to you joining me tomorrow night 2 times, because tomorrow night, Canaan will be holding our Bible study, our in-person Bible study. We will be holding our in-person Bible study. If you missed it last week, we want you to definitely be in the house on this week, on tomorrow night in the East Fellowship Hall. And I know we're going to have a great lesson tomorrow, like we've had the past several months. It's been good. It's been great. I've been enjoying it myself, because I've been receiving fresh revelation from the word that has been shared these past few months. God bless you again. And with that, I will say God bless and good.